Hey again, herb lovers. Today I thought we could pick some of the last of the basil that's growing so beautifully in the hoop house here, and we could take it inside and we could talk about processing your herbs, and we will make a lovely basil dressing that I like to make when we've got plenty of fresh basil on hand. So the basil that's growing in the hoop house at the moment is a combination of a number of basils, and all we're going to do is just clip the tops off. There's some tiny little beautiful Greek basils down here that are flowering now, which are really nice. And you can tell when basil's getting to the end of its life because it does what these ones are doing up here, which is the stem starts to go dark. You see the leaves are coming off now. This is just flowering. It's putting all of its energy into these little flowers, and we have just harvested so much basil out of this little tiny hanging basket up here, and it's really nice just to be able to take the last of it and turn it into something really lovely that's going to stay in the fridge for a little while. We'll grab some of these lovely opal basils down here. I love the colour of them. Attacking me on the side here is a plant that should have gone months ago, but it's just refusing. It's just hanging in here, so we'll let it hang in for as long as it wants to hang in. Okay, we've got a good handful, so we'll take this inside and we will get processing. Well, so here we are in the kitchen, and I have washed my herbs and dried them, and I've started to take some of them off the stalk because I didn't want to bore you with taking them all off, but I do want to show you some of the ways to take your herbs off the stalk when you're preparing them. So as you can see, basil grows beautifully alternately around its central stem, and that means basically we can hold her at the top and just strip down her stem like this. Then we can pick off the top leaves and take out the top. Now, because of what I'm making, I don't like using the stems so much, so I'm just going to put those in the compost. But if you were cooking something that you were leaving for a long time, you could use the stem. But because I'm going straight into vinegar with a fresh herb, I'm not going to use the stem because basically the stem's just holding a lot of liquid and not really got quite as much of the aromatics, which is what we want with the herb in the leaf. With our tiny Greek basil here, I'm just going to snip it off and chop up the little tiny bits of it. A little bit hard to be stripping off the stem, and we don't really need to because there's not that much stem in there. And then again, we've got another one of these that we can just quickly strip the leaves off. And we are ready to go. Now, what I like to do is use my lovely little herb chopper, double blade. People do a lot of herbs in the food processor or in a blender. I like actually chopping my herbs by hand. I have this feeling that, you know, the herb plant itself has some energy and I have some energy, and it's really nice if we both work together. So I'm kind of old-fashioned about chopping my herbs by hand, and I find sometimes too that if you use the food processor, it's really nice to use that if you're making something like a pesto because it blitzes everything up. But if you're just going to make a salad dressing, which is pretty much what we're going to make today, or a vinegar or anything like that, it's nice just to gently chop the herb. And I wish you could smell it. I wish we had smell-o-vision because it smells absolutely amazing. And I'm just going to loosely chop these. They don't have to be completely pulverized. They pretty much just have to be bruised so that we can get more surface area of the herb into whatever liquid we're putting it into. In this You know, this is a really good way to get any fresh herb into your cooking. The more surface area that's available for the scent and essence of the herb to get into your cooking, your food, the better off you are. So that's pretty much about it. It doesn't need a lot. It hasn't taken us very long. There's one big leaf still poking through there, so I'll give that a bit of a rub, bit of a chop. And then what I'm going to do is I've got this little bottle here that we like to have our dressings in, and I basically just messily push it in the top. Not a lot of finesse sometimes when you're making these kind of at-home concoctions. So we've got our chopped up herb in our container. I'm just going to rinse my fingers off, and I am blessed to have beehives in the back garden. And this is honey from our hives. It's unpasteurized honey, which means that we can't give it to anybody under the age of 1, but there's nobody under the age of 1 in our house. So I'm not much for measures. I'm a throw it in there and see how it looks kind of girl. So I'm putting a little bit of honey in there to sweeten our dressing. I love watching it as it works its way down through the herb. I'm going to get a chopstick to make sure it gets to the bottom because it doesn't. So we want to get a little bit of that. I'll try and make sure that some of that gets to the bottom before we pour our vinegar in on top. Not only is this a herbal dressing, but it's also something that's called an oxymel, which is a way of preserving a herb. I can't get it open. So not only is this a herbal dressing, it's something else. It's something that's also called an oxymel. Gosh, that's full. And it is a way of preserving fresh herbs. So we're going to top up our container with our vinegar. This is apple cider vinegar. We've been making our own apple cider vinegar, but it's not ready yet, from our own apples off our trees, which is quite thrilling for me. So you can see that the level has gone down now that I've started to mix the vinegar with the honey and the herb. And I'm going to top that up a little bit. And we can cap that off. And we could actually leave it sitting on the bench because the honey is antimicrobial and antibacterial, and the vinegar, apple cider vinegar, has all kinds of wonderful antimicrobial and antibacterial properties as well. But I'm going to pop it into the fridge because we will probably be having it for dinner before it's had much chance to do anything. We go through a lot of this, and it can be mixed with oil and put on roast potatoes, made into a salad dressing. But it's just it is a lovely way to preserve the flavour of your basil as you're coming to the end of the season. So there you go. I made this the other night for the family, and they were thrilled, and it lasted about 2 meals. So just a quick way to make something to preserve some of your herbs from the summer for the winter if it lasts that long in your fridge. What else are you doing with some of your herbs that you've been growing? Leave a note in the comments below. Ask me anything you want to ask me about what we've just made, and I will see you again in the next video. Love and lettuce, and bye for now.